My sister-in-law DNA tested my daughter behind my back and paraded the results on my daughter's face. So I told her why it came negative, and all her plans backfired. I have a daughter who's 6. I am not biologically related to her at all. There is no blood relation between us. I was friends with her mother for almost all of my childhood. We were never involved romantically and were always just friends. When my daughter was a newborn, about 3 months technically, both her mother and father were unalived. I won't go into too much detail for privacy reasons, but it was a workplace shooting. My friend and her husband had worked in the same building and were both unalived. Both my friend and her husband had grown up with less than ideal families and didn't have any siblings, so there wasn't any next of kin for their daughter to go to. However, because I was close with them, I was able to adopt her. Even though I had been iffy about the idea of kids, I didn't want their daughter to grow up in foster care or around people who didn't have a connection to her bio parents. So I stepped in. I initially didn't like to have a child, but I learned to love her as my own. My parents and siblings know that my daughter is not my actual daughter biologically speaking. My daughter, I'll call Lily for the post, also knows that she's adopted. I never really hid the fact that she was adopted. She knows her parents are dead and were killed by a bad man. But I'm saving the details for when she's older. Lily does not look like me at all. She looks exactly like her mother and biological dad. Most people assume that I'm her bio dad and that she just took after her mom. I don't ever really correct this when and if people assume this because it just seems unnecessary. My brother has been with his fiancée for about 2 years now, and they have a 1-year-old. A few weeks ago, we were all meeting up at my parents' house, and my sister-in-law saw an old picture of me, my friend, and her husband. She pointed to my friend and asked who she was, and I explained that was Lily's mother. Sister-in-law got quiet and stood in front of the picture for a while. I didn't think much of it. To clarify, she knows my friend died, but I guess didn't know that she had been married or that Lily is not my bio daughter. I suppose she assumed my daughter was mine and my friend's biological daughter. At the dinner table, my parents announced that they were setting up a college fund for both kids and they were going to be given $50,000 each. We were all very happy to hear this, and we went back home afterwards. Anyway, after a month, I observed that my sister-in-law got pretty distant from my daughter. Anytime Lily would play with her son, she would take him and tell Lily that he needed a nap or when Lily asks her something. She ignores her and tells her that she's busy when she is just using her cell phone. Then one day, she went to my house and told me that she has something to tell me urgently. I found out that my sister-in-law got a DNA test done on my daughter behind my back. She used my brother's DNA for the test. And when it came back that they weren't related, she knew that meant me and Lily weren't related. She came up to me with the results and waved them in my face, saying that I was taking care of a dead woman's affair baby. She said this to me in front of my daughter. I just stared at her for a while before bursting out laughing at this. I told her I knew Lily wasn't my biological daughter and that this thing called adoption exists. Her face went red and she stormed off. My brother is mad I embarrassed his fiancée, but I said she embarrassed herself by DNA testing a kid that isn't hers and then parading the results up to me. What did she want me to do? What was her goal with this? Did she want me to break down and abandon my daughter? My brother said she thought she was doing the right thing and called me an asshole. I don't feel like the asshole, especially considering my sister-in-law was the one who stuck her nose where it doesn't belong. Update. After everything happened with my sister-in-law and the DNA test, things took a surprising turn. It turns out her reasons for doing it were more selfish than I thought. My sister-in-law decided to talk to my parents directly. She confidently went to their house and told them that Lily isn't my biological daughter, thinking it would be a big revelation. My parents, who have always known Lily as adopted, just let her talk. She then argued that because Lily isn't my real daughter, it wasn't fair for her to get the same $50,000 college fund as her son, who she called the legitimate one. She actually suggested that the entire $100,000 should go to her son and that Lily shouldn't get anything since she's not related by blood. My parents didn't take this well at all. My mom, who's usually very kind, kicked her out of the house and made it clear that Lily is their grandchild, no matter what. She told my sister-in-law that if she couldn't accept that, she didn't belong in our family. Since then, sister-in-law and my brother have been quiet. I think my brother finally talked to her about what she did because he texted me later, apologizing for everything. He didn't give many details, but I can imagine the conversation wasn't easy. As for me, I'm just glad my parents stood up for Lily. She doesn't need to know that someone tried to push her out of the family for money. All she needs to know is that she's loved, and I'll make sure she feels that every day.